So guys, we have reached the end of our chapter Peasants, Zamindars in the State. ये हमारा last topic है इस chapter में, and the last thing that we talk about in this chapter is a very important historical document. It's a very important historical document because this document was written and talks about a time in the history of our country which is an important phase, and it is also as far as documents go, it is also a very precise and a very detailed document of the a document which gives a very detailed picture of the time that it talks about. So when we started this chapter, when we started talking about looking for sources, we did mention this thing called the Aini Akbari of Abul Fazl Alami, जो हमने स्टार्टिंग में ही डिस्कस किया था कि हम अपनी मुगल पीरियड की जो भी इंफॉर्मेशन डिराइव करते हैं वो काफ़ी वेरी सोर्सेज से डिराइव करते हैं, बट उनमें से एक हमारा बहुत ही इम्पोर्टेंट सोर्स ये है जिसको हम कहते हैं आइनी अकबरी. तो this is what we started the chapter with. This is also what we're going to end the chapter with. And why we're talking about this is because it's such a important document that we need to, when we are talking about the Mughal period, when we are talking about the Mughal history, this document becomes important because this is the only document that has so much precision and so many detailed records of things that have happened in the Mughal period. So the Aini Akbari is basically the thing about the Aini Akbari is it's written by Akbar's court historian Abul Fazl Alami, or so let's start reading about it. The Ain was a part of a larger project of history writing commissioned by Akbar called the Akbarnama. तो ये जो आइनी अकबरी है ये basically एक larger document का एक part है. The larger document is called the Akbarnama. The Akbarnama was the entire book as a whole, which has 3 parts, and the third part of it is the Aini Akbari. So the Akbarnama was also like the entire thing was written by Abul Fazl Alami, but the Aini Akbari is just the most important part of it. We'll discuss कि बाकी के दो parts जो थे उनके बारे में भी हम discuss करेंगे, but for now the larger project was called the Akbarnama, which comprises of 3 volumes, and the third volume is this book called Aini Akbari. So of the 3 volumes, the first 2 contain historical narratives. When we say historical narratives, what we mean is जो ये आइनी अकबरी जो था ये बहुत ज़्यादा हर चीज़ का डिटेल्ड रिकॉर्ड था इसमें, एंड बिसाइड्स डिटेल्ड रिकॉर्ड्स हर चीज़ का एम्पेरिकल डेटा था इसमें. और जो पहले के 2 डॉक्यूमेंट्स हैं, those are just historical records. Those are just they talk about they are records. They talk about things that have happened. They don't it doesn't contain any empirical data or things that need validation. It just contains historical records of things that have happened. So the first book, the first volume contains records of Akbar's reign till the time till the time the book was written basically. So the first volume is about it starts with the birth of Akbar, the life and history of Timur, also so Timur is basically a Mongolian leader who had established a large empire in a vast consolidating a vast empire in Asia and parts of the Middle East. तो Mongolian descendant थे वो भी. तो वहाँ से ये अकबर जो है ये अकबर के great grandfather थे. So it contains records of the life and history of Timur, and then it talks about the birth of Akbar, and then the second volume was also about Akbar's reign and the political events that happened during his reign, and so all these things. So it's just about things that have happened till then, and it's about how the Mughals came to rule over the over the empire that we now refer to as India. तो ये सब चीजें थी. But the third narrative, the third volume, the Ain, it was much more detailed, it was much more precise, it was much more, let's see what are the things that it tells us about. So the first two contain historical narratives, while the Ain gave detailed accounts of the following. The first is organization of the court, army and administration. तो मुगल कोर्ट में कैसी चीजें ऑर्गेनाइज, कैसे जो एम्परर था वो कैसी चीजें ऑर्गेनाइज करते थे, इनका आर्मी कैसे ऑर्गेनाइज होता था, इनका एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन कैसा था, इन सब चीजों के बारे में हमें आईनी अकबरी से पता चलता है. द सेकेंड थिंग इज फिजिकल लेआउट ऑफ द प्रोविंसेस ऑफ अकबर्स एम्पायर. तो अकबर का जो ये एवर एक्सपैंडिंग एम्पायर था, जो पूरा इंडियन सबकॉन्टिनेंट को मिला के, और दिस empire was not constant, it expanded over time. He continued to gain more and more territories under his empire. So the book, the Aini Akbari also talks about the expanses of his empire, the physical layout of his empire, just how much territory he owns under his empire is what this thing tells us about. The third is statistical details about, so it doesn't just talk about the expansion of the territory, it also talks about things that happen within the territory. So हमने पहले इस बुक में, पहले इस चैप्टर में हमने ये चीज पढ़ा था कि अकबर जो थे वो लैंड रेवेन्यू सिस्टम जो हमने पढ़ा था, उसमें हमने देखा कि पूरा एम्पायर जो था वो प्रोविंसेस में डिवाइड होता था. तो ईच प्रोविंस का असेसमेंट किया जाता था कि कितना पैसा आ सकता है, कितना पैसा एक्चुअली आया है. सो these were things that some of these informations were also recorded in the Aini Akbari, and so then we see there are statistical details about crop yields, price, wage, revenue, etc. तो ऐसी चीजों के बारे में भी detailed information है, from which we can actually actually see what kind of living standards these people enjoyed, what kind of what level of trade would have been possible with whatever data we have about all these things. So that is the special thing about this document. It records things that traditional documents do not record. So the first thing that it talks about is the literary, cultural and religious traditions of people. The fifth is departments of Akbar's government. तो ये सारी चीजें हमने इसीलिए लिस्ट आउट की हैं ताकि हम ये पोर्ट्रे कर सके कि कितना डिटेल्ड था ये बुक और कितनी डिटेल्ड इंफॉर्मेशन मिलती है हमें यहाँ पे ना सिर्फ मुगल कोर्ट के बारे में, ना सिर्फ मुगल स्टेट के बारे में, बट ऑल्सो रिगार्डिंग द इंटायर a territory that Akbar was ruling over, or the Mughal emperor was ruling over. Collecting and compiling this information systematically was an important imperial exercise, as it informed the emperor of the varied and diverse customs and practices prevailing across the empire. However, the Ain was a view of society from the apex. So what this says is collecting and compiling this information systematically was an important imperial exercise. Why? So these things that we talk about in the or that we read about in the Aini Akbari, ये जो चीजों के बारे में हमारे पास इंफॉर्मेशन है, ये इंफॉर्मेशन उस टाइम पे अगर ये रिटन रिकॉर्ड्स में अवेलेबल है तो इट्स ओनली बिकॉज उस टाइम पे भी लोगों ने इस इंफॉर्मेशन को कलेक्ट करने के लिए, असेस करने के लिए काफी एफर्ट्स लगाए थे. ये पूरा डेटा जो है पूरे एम्पायर से कलेक्ट किया गया था, उसके बाद जाके ये आईनी अकबरी में डाला गया. तो ये कलेक्शन और असेसमेंट का भी एक अलग तरीका था और ये चीज करना बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट था ताकि so because it informed the emperor of the varied and diverse customs and practices prevailing across the empire. Because these things were important for the emperor to know as well, because the emperor wanted to know what kind of subjects he was ruling over. He did not just want to, rule over territory. He wanted to know his subjects. He wanted to be able to quantify all the things in his territory, and he wanted to be a fair and just king to his subjects. So that is why he actually took efforts to build systems and to actually employ people into collecting all this data, assessing all this data, and getting this into written and recorded into this document that we now refer to as the Aini Akbari. तो ये जो सारी चीजें हैं जिनके बारे में हम डिस्कस कर रहे हैं, जिनके बारे में हमें आज पता है, क्योंकि एक ऐसी किताब है आईनी अकबरी जो उस टाइम पे लिखी गई थी और जिससे हम आज भी मुगल एम्पायर के बारे में इतना सारा इंफॉर्मेशन डिराइव कर सकते हैं। ये सारी इंफॉर्मेशन जो हमारे पास है कि उस वक्त के टाइम पे भी लोगों को इस चीज के लिए एम्प्लॉय किया जाता था, ये सारा डेटा कलेक्ट करने के लिए, इसको असेस करने के लिए, ताकि कोई भी चीज ताकि कोई चीज ऐसे गेस वर्क पे ना हो, ताकि कोई चीज ऐसे एस्टिमेटेड ना हो। दिस इज ऑल रियल डेटा दैट हैज बीन कलेक्टेड at that point of time. This actually gives us a record of the people and the customs, the traditions. It doesn't just talk about the Mughal court. It doesn't just talk about the emperor or what he was trying to say or what he was trying to achieve. It is not a document that is coming from the perspective of the ruler, even though it was the ruler who wanted this document to be written. In fact, it talks about the people that were subjected to his rule during that period of time. So that is the special thing about the Aini Akbari. So moving on, the Ain consists of 5 books, 3 of which are the following: the Manzil Abadi, which talks about the imperial household and its maintenance, and by imperial household we mean जो emperor था वो जो उनका जो पूरा household था उसको maintain करना, कैसे वो household function करता था, all these things are mentioned in the Manzil Abadi. The second book under this is the Sipah Abadi, which basically talks about the military and civil administration and the establishment of servants, and it is in so it's quite evident from the name of this book that it's all about the army, it's all about the military, it's all about the civil administration, it's all about the various structures that that had to be worked out. So, and the third book is the Mulk Abadi, which talks about the fiscal side of the empire. तो पूरा ये जो tax collection का इनका system था, जो मनसबदारी system था, तो ये चीजें इसमें आती है. तो these are the first 3 books. So while the first 3 books under the Ain talk about or deal with the administration, the 4th and 5th deal with the religious, literary and cultural traditions of India, and a collection of Akbar's auspicious sayings. So these are the first 3 books are basically technical records of things that happened, and this is not just this is not just records of things that were there. This is also a record of all the empirical data that can substantiate the ways in which the Mughal कोड ऑफ द मुगल स्टेट यूज टू वर्क. तो ये जो बुक्स हैं इनमें सिर्फ डिस्क्रिप्शंस नहीं दी हुई हैं, इनमें सिर्फ बातें नहीं बोली गई हैं कि ये ऐसे होता था, ये ऐसे होता था. बहुत सारा एम्पेरिकल डेटा दिया गया है जिससे हम अपने खुद के उस डेटा को एनालाइज करके हम अपने खुद के कंक्लूजन्स निकाल सकते हैं कि ये ऐसे ऐसे काम करता था, ट्रेड इनका ऐसा होता था, लिविंग स्टैंडर्ड्स इनके ऐसे होते थे. सो दिस गिव्स अस enormous empirical data to work with, and that is the one of the good things about this document. Moving on, despite errors of arithmetics and transcription and a somewhat skewed nature of the quantitative data, the Aini Akbari that gives us so many information has its own problems also. It's not like it's a perfectly it's a perfect document. It's not like there are no errors in that document. There are certain errors there are certain arithmetical errors. Sometimes things don't add up to the number that is given, and then there are certain errors of transcription. But then and there is also our text also tells us about this skewed nature of the quantitative data. मतलब जो ये फिजिकल लेआउट हम देख रहे हैं, जो ये स्टेटिस्टिकल डिटेल्स दिए हुए हैं क्रॉप ईल्ड्स के बारे में, रेवेन्यू के बारे में, कई बार हमने ऐसे देखा कि काफी चीजों के बारे में जो है there are informations about a lot of variables, but then this information is centered around the Mughal capital of Agra, then capital, the Mughal capital of Agra, and areas around it, areas close to it. So it doesn't talk about the entire empire as a whole. So there was a lot of information that were relevant only in and around the capital areas and not throughout the borders of the empire. So that is why there is a skewed nature of quantitative data. There are a lot of other problems with the Aini Akbari. It's not like it's a perfect document. It has its own problem. But what this says is, despite errors of arithmetics and transcription and a somewhat skewed nature of the quantitative data, the Ain remains an extraordinary document of its times, because this is the only document that gives us so many records of the things that happen there. Basically, what happens in जो हमारे पास ट्रेडिशनल डॉक्यूमेंट्स होते हैं, जो उस टाइम के लिखे हुए डॉक्यूमेंट्स है ना, वो इट बेसिकली टॉक्स अबाउट ऑल द इम्पोर्टेंट इवेंट्स इन हिस्ट्री. सो वी हैव रिकॉर्ड्स ऑफ इम्पोर्टेंट इवेंट्स like wars, like conquests, like political turmoils, like all the big things that happen in history. But the problem is we only have records of all the big things. The Aini Akbari was not, it did not just talk about the conquest of Akbar, or the, it did not talk about only the big things or only the achievements that the emperor made. It talked about, the thing about the Aini Akbari was that it talked about the people. It talked about the people of the country, the people of the empire, and it was a very, the reason why we keep saying it's a very detailed document is because there were lots of information. Even अगर हम अभी भी agrarian society के बारे में पढ़ रहे हैं, तो even agrarian society के बारे में भी काफी detailed information थी, जैसे crop yields, revenues, prices, wages, all these things have been widely discussed in the Aini Akbari, and that is why it says that this was a record that talked about the people and not just the emperor or not just the kingdom. So that is what makes this document so special. And also it's not like it lists all the big events that happened. It lists all these small things that that constituted the empire. It lists everything, big and small, everything. So it contains information on people, their professions and trades, imperial establishments, and the grandness of the empire. So this is where we end our chapter. We end our chapter by by talking about the one important source from where we derive most of our information regarding this Mughal empire, regarding the agrarian society back then. So this is one of the sources that we look towards, and here in this segment we just talked about how good or bad or how reliable or non-reliable this source is. So we just validated the Aini Akbari and we talked in much details about it because this is one of the most important documents that we have from a period back then.